What is going on, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Passable Ball Knowledge Podcast. Wow, it's been a crazy deadline. Big deadline, probably the craziest deadline in a long time as far as like not only we just had a little extra deal here, right? As we were getting on, it's 3:58 p.m. So Eastern time. So like literally like the deadline will be in 1 minute. We might get like a one extra trade or two after, depending on how they come through. We just got an extra deal. Trevor Penning to the Chargers, the Saints O lineman. So that's a trade. Not a big
Big,
one. That's not one that
big
we're gonna be
move.
focusing on. Huge move. Aaron, I mean, as a Falcons fan, obviously Falcons didn't end up making any moves, but just as a football fan, what's your take on this deadline without going into too many specifics on the moves?
Um, I'm surprised by a lot of things. I'm surprised, how aggressive like the Colts were and how just willing to sell like the Jets were.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
without going anything too, deep, I'm pretty surprised by like a lot of teams like ways of doing it this deadline.
Yeah, this was a deadline. I think we're seeing the effect that the idea of like the parity of the NFL this year and how it's kind of seen that there's not a true favorite. Nobody knows who's really going to win the Super Bowl. There's not a clear Super Bowl favorite. It's anyone's year this year. I think that's leading to a lot of teams buying in on this year and going all in and saying, "Okay, we think we can do it. Let's give up some of the capital to go get there." I also think it's interesting how many teams gave up this year picks compared to next year, which is seen as a much stronger draft by pretty much all the scouts. They're seeing it not only as a better draft at the top, but they're also seeing it as a much deeper draft. So we'll see how that goes. Let's dive right in here. I mean, the headline of the day is absolutely the New York Jets, who really tore everything down. They totally reset their team. They had some, kind of available people. Like the idea was that, hey, Brees Hall might be available. Uh, you know, uh, Jermaine Johnson might be available. It turns out they went a lot further. We got the first real holy crap trade today, around noon, probably right, like around noon, 1 o'clock.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sauce Gardner, who this offseason signed a 4 year, $120 million extension, has been traded to the Indianapolis Colts. Two first round picks going back to the Jets and wide receiver AD Mitchell. This is a huge trade. This was a huge surprise. Nobody saw this coming. There was not even really any buzz on hey, the Sauce Gardner might be available and teams are really getting in there. The buzz at the beginning of the day was, hey, Jalen Waddle might be available. So maybe that's the trade that people are looking out for. No, it's Sauce Gardner. Huge trade. Aaron, let's talk about this for the Colts because it's easy to talk about this for the Jets, but there are more moves that we can talk about for the Jets. So from the Colts perspective, what do you think this means for a team that has been a huge surprise and is buying all in?
I think if this were to say one thing for the Colts, it's just, we're really going for it. We don't think we're a one-off team. We think we're a team that can have, like sustained success over the next 2 years since they don't have a draft pick. Um, but yeah, this tells me that they are ultra confident that they can probably get Daniel Jones signed. They can keep the success going. Um, and I think they're reasonable to say that. I mean, they've been looking great, and there's no reason why they can't be this good next year. So I mean, yeah, for the Colts, this just tells me they're really going all in, and they actually think that they are a true Super Bowl contender this year.
Yeah, I found it interesting how Sauce Gardner was the name that they bought in like heavy on because obviously, and there aren't too many elite players that are available via the trade deadline. It's just not that common. But the AFC is a loaded conference. Chiefs, Bills, Ravens seem to be coming up here. It's very crazy to see a like massive buy-in from a team on a player of this caliber, especially for the Indianapolis Colts, who just had a really rough game. The first crack that we are seeing, kind of in this Colts team this year. So Colts are buying all in. This is a big move for the Colts. Giving up two first round picks is a huge commitment. Who is the last player that got traded for two firsts? Do you remember? Uh, because like some names that come to mind are
Was, was Jalen Ramsey traded for two firsts?
a while ago, but not recently. Uh, some names that come to mind, like I'm thinking Jamal Adams, Russ,
Yeah.
Deshaun Watson. Is there anyone else that was two first round picks? I'll do a quick look up on this, but uh, I mean, it's a huge price to pay, and it's really is an exclusive club. Yeah, Sauce Gardner is the second player dealt for two first round picks in season. The other was Jalen Ramsey. Khalil Mack was traded for two first round picks. Laramie Tunsil was two first round picks. There have not been a lot of two first round pick trades in recent years. So this is a big one. This is a big time move for the Colts. And that was not it for the Jets. The Jets also traded Quinnen Williams. They get a second this year. Quinnen Williams to the Cowboys. They get a second this year and a first next year, which is there's some interesting wording in that trade because they get the higher of the second round of the first round picks next year. They get the higher pick. So that is not yet known, but you can agree to that trade, which is interesting because that means that Dallas officially can't do anything with the other first. They have two firsts next year from the Micah Parsons trade. Oh, that's it.
Yep.
Micah Parsons was the last player traded for two firsts. Stupid. Anyways, um, they that they have two firsts next year. They can't do anything with any of those firsts until the trade is finalized, which will give the uh, Jets the higher first next year. But Quinnen Williams also traded blue chip defensive tackle. We'll kind of talk about the Jets after we talk about the Cowboys, who had a really bad loss last night, are not really in a place to compete. This is not a Cowboys team that is like, oh, we're right on the cusp and like we made a few moves and we're like 5-3 or something. That this is a 3-5-1 football team. This is a
Yeah.
team that's really been struggling. They are not in a clear path to make the playoffs. They don't have a clear path to win their division. What is your take on the Cowboys giving up a first next year in a very valuable draft and giving up a second this year to buy in on a team that doesn't seem like they're that close?
Um, I don't love it for the Cowboys. I mean, like you trade Micah Parsons, and that's turned out fine. Micah Parsons hasn't been like as good as he was with the Cowboys, but he's still a great player, obviously. Um, and then to cause like the way my mind worked, it was they basically just traded Micah Parsons for Quinn Williams. And when you do that, Quinn Williams is great, don't get me wrong, but he's not going to replace the all the things that Mike or like replace all the production that Micah Parsons had in Dallas. He's not as fast. He doesn't get as many sacks. He doesn't, he does a lot less. He's still great, obviously, but I mean, in my mind, this just kind of seems like the Cowboys flipped Micah Parsons for still a great D lineman, but for just a worse player, basically. Just kind of like a one for one swap. That's just kind of how my mind went with this trade.
Yeah, if you want to do the math on it, honestly, it is a first round pick this year from the Packers that will not be a very good pick. Kenny Clark and Quinnen Williams for Micah Parsons. It's okay. Like Quinn Williams is a very good player. He's a good ball player. He's a good football player. He will make a difference for this Cowboys team. I'm not saying that this is a trade that isn't a difference maker, isn't a needle mover, but is this the needle mover that takes the Cowboys from being well out of the playoffs to all of a sudden like a solid team that is right there? I don't see it that way. This makes the Cowboys much more expensive, and they were already a very expensive football team. So I'm just not loving this trade from Dallas as far as buying in on this team where you had two firsts in the next few years. You could have really built up like a stockpile of young talent if you draft well and you're cheaper, you're younger, and then you can continue to get better kind of on this same trajectory. And in the meantime, Dallas is a good enough team to stay afloat. It's not like they're going to sink without Micah Parsons. And while they kind of build up with these draft picks, but then you buy on in Quinnen Williams, who is old. And, or he's not old, but he's older. I mean, what? He was picked in 2019, meaning he's probably near
29.
30. He's
Yeah.
touching 30 at this point, or not touching, but he's reaching out for it. And then he's expensive. So weird trade from Dallas. Let's talk about the Jets. They really are the first team in my memory that I can even think of that blew their team up at the deadline. Like traded players that would have been there for the next 2, 3, 4 years under contract for draft capital. They now have two firsts this year. They will have three firsts next year. This is a Jets team that just blew everything up. They were seen as a team that could maybe be frisky. Aaron Glenn's a good coach. They have the talent. Hey, Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner, Quinnen Williams, maybe they can put it together and win 7 or 8 games. This is a total demolition of this football team that was already very bad. So, what do you think about the Jets' direction and their boldness to really just take everything down?
Honestly, I think this is one of the better tank jobs, you know, in a while. Um, you're not going to win this year. That's been established since, probably week 4 or 5. So you say, let's trade everyone while they're kind of at their peak and get and get, like max value, max capital, that we can get for these players, especially if we're not going to win. Um, and I think it works more, especially when you have a first year coach in Aaron Glenn, that I think the Jets probably think can keep you in games even if you're just like a horrible team. Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't love it for like, Jets fans. It's just gonna be a few more years of sucking probably. Um, but I think in terms of, tank jobs in the past, um, this is one of the better ones. They gained what, three or four first rounders today? Three?
They gained three, yeah.
Gained three first rounders, two okay players, um, in a second. So I mean, and obviously you traded, probably the best player in the team in Sauce Gardner, and
Maybe the
you
second
know,
best player on the team in Quinnen Williams.
yeah. So I think you're sitting there and you say, okay, we'll suck this year, probably next year, and then maybe the year after that we'll be solid again. So I think they're kind of playing the long game with Aaron Glenn, which I don't hate. Um, but yeah, I don't hate this move for the Jets from an outside perspective. I'm sure a lot of Jets fans um are strongly against all this though.
Hmm. Uh, yeah, this is a very strange move. Um, or not a strange move. It was a sudden move, and it's a move that I admire.
Yeah,
I'm with you.
because
This is a yeah.
honestly, like Woody Johnson doesn't seem like the type of guy to just like kind of like give up, like throw it like all the times with the Jets. Aaron Rodgers comes, he doesn't work out. Okay, so Aaron Rodgers gone. Let's restart, get a new coach. Okay, now we'll get Justin Fields, and maybe we'll have a good enough team. We suck again. Now let's just try again with Aaron Glenn. Hopefully, I hope they do at least, and if they don't, I think they're making the wrong move. Um, but it's kind of surprising. For me, it's kind of they're obviously not like the same level team, but for me, it's kind of like the Cowboys giving up almost. Like
Hmm.
it doesn't happen, even though like the Cowboys are never great and like the Jets are always bad. They never seem to really just like give up and just like give away everything. Um, so I am a little surprised by this in that way. If you know.
Yeah. I mean, I think when you really look at it, like the timeline for the Jets now becomes very obvious. They want to be so bad that they are insured at least the second pick because if they're not the first pick, I would assume it's probably the Titans. The Titans aren't going to take a quarterback. They're fine with that. They are going to pick a quarterback this year. They just are. That's just how it is. And I think that their hope is likely suck ass this year for the rest of the year, just be terrible, get the quarterback. Maybe you have like, hey, this is maybe they have like a Jaden Daniels rookie season or something like that, where or like a CJ Stroud rookie season, where hey, we're surprisingly good, and then you have three first round picks the year after that. Maybe you can get a Jeremiah Smith. Maybe you can get like three first round picks can get you to the top of the draft. And Jeremiah Smith is the guy in 2027. I know a lot of people are going to be excited about him. Maybe the Jets are like, hey, Garrett Wilson, Jeremiah Smith, let's go, let's go, let's do this. I admire the boldness to admit defeat, which is not like
Yeah.
a very handsome thing in the NFL to be like, hey, yeah, we just suck and we're gonna give up. Like you rarely see that. And I admire really doing it. I think the Seahawks honestly kind of set a little bit of a precedent this offseason with the idea of, hey, like if you're mediocre or bad, get rid of guys that are not going to move the needle, and then you can build something back and still be good. So, like, the Seahawks were mediocre. They traded Geno, DK, they cut Tyler Lockett, they cut a bunch of guys, and then all of a sudden, here they are, and they're like kind of on the cusp of being a contender in the NFC. So, very intrigued by what the Jets did. I admire it. It was very sudden. It was very shocking. I imagine this is a day for Jets fans that hurts because just a few years ago you had these guys and they were young and you had Aaron Rodgers and like this team was very exciting and you think you're about to be there. And now this team is probably 2 to 3 years away at minimum from being good again. So
Yeah.
that's just the reality of it, but that's how the NFL works. And I think some teams need to blow it up in order to be a true contender. And I think that's what the Jets are realizing. So we'll see how it goes for the Jets. We'll talk about some of the other little moves here. As a Seahawks fan, you know that I am going to want to talk about the Rashid Shaheed trade. Rashid Shaheed traded from the Saints to the Seahawks, a fourth and a fifth this year, going from Seattle to New Orleans. And Seattle gets Rashid Shaheed. I'll just give a quick comment on this as a Seahawks fan. I really like this move for us. Shaheed offers like a very unique skill set opposed to what our offense is. We have a very good offense at the moment, but we don't have an offense that has a clear deep threat, a guy that can take the top off the defense, a guy that defenses have to really back up for to prevent that big play. So when you like have that guy on your team, it makes it easier to run the football. It gives you more space, kind of in front of the safeties who now have to drop back a little more. It forces teams to change their game plans to adjust for Rashid Shaheed. He was very good with Clint Kubiak last year. I like this move a lot. I think Shaheed is a good ball player. He fits this offense well. We know what he can already do in this offense, and he adds an entirely new facet that no other Seahawks receiver had, which is a true deep threat ability. And it makes this offense that much more explosive. It's going to open up the run game. I really like the move for the Seahawks. Do you have any thoughts on it that you want to add, or are you kind of neutral on it?
I mean, I think it's a good move. I mean, you guys have been looking great. Why not just get better at receiver, even though you already have guys like like JSN and Torrey Horton this year, I guess, who's been really good.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, why not get the extra help?
All
I think
right. Yeah.
I think it's yeah.
Yeah. um, Jacoby Myers got traded to the Jaguars. That's another interesting move. It's not a move that is going to really blow anyone away. The Jaguars are a team that seems to be floating right on that kind of edge of being a playoff team. Like they're in 1 week, they're out the next week, they're in 1 week, they're out the next week. Kind of feels like that's the team that the Jaguars are at this point. So we will see what happens there. Jacoby Myers to Jacksonville. Kind of looking around here. Anything else that seems interesting? Draymond Jones to the Ravens, whatever. Logan Wilson got traded to the Cowboys this morning. Outside of that, not much. Trey Hendrickson stays with the Bengals, which was kind of the big guy that was seemingly named. Um, I think I'm gonna throw out a thought out there, and I want to see Aaron your take on it. I think the big thing that we saw this deadline is the trades that were made were teams that were not 100% guaranteed contenders that want to put themselves into that echelon. The Bills did not make a trade. The Chiefs did not make a trade. The Eagles made some trades. They made, Jalen Phillips was kind of the biggest move coming into this morning, and then obviously that got totally blown out of the water. Like we weren't seeing these big time contenders that were 100% absolutely sure that they were contenders make trades. But the Seahawks made a trade. They're a team that, like, hey, maybe they can be a really good team in the NFC and kind of put themselves into that contender conversation. The Colts, who are just coming off of their worst loss of the season, maybe they're a team that can put themselves into that conversation. The Cowboys made a trade. The Jaguars made a trade. That's what I kind of noticed. Teams that weren't maybe 100% sure that they were contenders bought in and they wanted to try to push themselves into the upper echelon. Of the teams that, made trades today that might want to push themselves into that conversation, what team are you most confident will be able to do it with the player that they acquired?
I mean, you really can't say anybody else except for the Colts. I mean, they've already looked the best this season, or out of all the teams so far. I think maybe outside the Seahawks, maybe, but you have a already a good defense, and your starting corner, or like your cornerback one for most of the season has been Xavier Howard, right? That's been kind of who they've been putting
Charvarius
out there.
Ward got hurt and he's been out for a little while. So,
Yeah. Um, so I mean, sorry, looking at the details. Um, so yeah, I mean, like you trade for a guy who's gonna definitively just make your defense way better. Your secondary is gonna get better. Um, and take some pressure off of a aging Xavier Howard, maybe give him some more time to, left to play if you need it. Um, but yeah, I think any answer but the Colts isn't wrong, but I think, the Colts are just the team that maybe didn't get like like the I'm trying to phrase it in the right way.
hmm,
They didn't get the best. Their team didn't get improved by the most today. That's
yeah.
that's what I'm trying to say. I was gonna say the most better, but it's not. Um, but like the Colts aren't the team that made like the biggest improvements to their team. But I think with how they've already been playing and how their defense has already been playing, how their offense has already been playing, just adding that, extra piece on defense and Sauce Gardner is gonna, really push them further into that, upper tier of the NFL this year.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Colts are definitely the winners of today as far as like their ability to compete. Sauce Gardner's a very physical corner. As much as I might think, hey, maybe this guy's a little overrated, I think he's a very good ball player. I like that they added him. I think that at the end of the day, he's going to make a big difference for this Colts team. And I think, hey, like you're going to need a shutdown island guy who, if you're taking on any team in the playoffs, can shut down another team's number one. And I think that the Colts realistically got that. And I'm looking forward to see how they can kind of continue to improve as the season goes and whether they can hang in that true contender conversation. Let's talk about teams that didn't make trades. We, kind of touched on the Bills, the Chiefs. I think it was agreed that those teams maybe don't need to make trades. Like those teams are fine. You don't necessarily need to add somebody to be a contender. Let's take a look here at the teams that did not make trades. So I'm gonna go ahead and start this conversation. I'm gonna throw out a team. I'm gonna give Aaron some time to take a look at some teams that he might think. We're going to talk about teams that were the most maybe surprised or disappointed that didn't make trades. Either could be for players or giving players away. So my first player that or first team that I'm really surprised did not make really any moves outside of one very small like sixth round pick for seventh round pick swap uh is the 49ers. The 49ers are a team that is very old, is extremely hurt, and in need of reinforcements on that defense because every week guys are just dropping. Like Michael Williams just tore his ACL, Nick Bosa's out for the year, Fred Warner's out for the year. Every week guys are getting hurt on this 49ers defense. And they were, rumored to be in the Trey Hendrickson conversation. Jalen Phillips, Bradley Chubb, these like, legitimate edge rush difference makers that they could throw into this defense and, have, really reinforce this group. This is a 49ers team that they're 6-3. They are a good football team. I'm not trying to discredit them in any way. As a matter of fact, them being 6-3 after all these injuries is kind of a miracle. But one thing that I want to point out that you can kind of really use to get a gauge of how good a football team is. Not if a football team is good, but how good are you is point differential. And if you look at the NFC West, which is a very competitive division, the Seahawks have a plus 81 point differential. That is very good. That's amongst the best in the NFC. The Rams have a plus 82 point differential. Even better. Amongst the best in the NFC. I think actually those are the top two teams in the NFC as far as point differential. The Cardinals, who are only 3-5, have a plus 9 point differential. The 49ers, who are 6-3, have a plus 6 point differential. This is a team that is really hanging on by a thread. They are so hurt. They are fighting in every game, and it seems like they can't ever get an easy win. And they did not really make any impact trades and buy in on a team that is very old. Like, I understand that there are injury prone guys, but next year, Trent Williams might not be on this team. He might retire. George Kittle is always hurt, and now he's back and maybe he's playing. Okay, fine, we can get him in. Like, this 49ers team desperately needs reinforcements. They desperately need people to come in and keep pace with the Seahawks and Rams, who it seems like are only getting better as every week goes on. I'm really, really surprised that the 49ers did not do anything at the deadline to improve their team. And we'll see if they're even able to hang on as a playoff team as maybe these injuries continue to take their toll. But that's my team that I'm really surprised didn't make a move. I'll throw on one more team that I'm surprised didn't trade more people away. The Tennessee Titans. I thought the Titans could have made a lot of moves to send people away, expiring players. I think I would have taken calls on Calvin Ridley. I maybe wouldn't have traded away Jeffrey Simmons, but hey, like if I see that the Colts can get 2 first round picks for Sauce Gardner, I'm hitting every team up like, hey, you guys want to throw out an offer for Jeffrey Simmons? That kind of stuff. I would have taken offers for everybody. They didn't make any trades. And they are kind of just in this weird limbo spot. They don't have a head coach and they are 1-8. So that's one team that I'm surprised didn't trade anyone away on top of the 49ers, who I'm surprised didn't trade for anybody.
Um, yeah. I think for me, a team I'm surprised didn't make any moves is this is a tough question. Um, Honestly, maybe like the the Broncos.
That's an interesting
Just let me
team.
check.
They did not
Yeah,
make
just let
any
me
moves.
check.
They did not make any moves.
I think their offense is obviously pretty solid already. But I think you could like really use like a wide receiver 2 or 3 on this team, and then like this offense is really moving. Like they have good receivers already, like Cortland Sutton and Troy Franklin and Marvin Mims and like a few other guys. But I think this team just could really use some more receiver depth. Or maybe even like a tight end. No, Evan Engram was fine. Um, but yeah, I think the Broncos, even though they're not in like desperate need of it, I think they could have, upgraded their offense for Bo Nix a little bit more. Um,
Especially in that
you know,
division with Justin Herbert
yeah,
and the Chargers and then the
that's a really
Chiefs.
tough. That's a really competitive division. I think you need every chance to get better than the other team as you can. But I think doing that, might have been a benefit to them. Um, and honestly, I'm kind of surprised the Falcons didn't make any moves. We in the past with Terry Fontenot as GM have been fairly aggressive at the deadline. But like especially this year when we could really use like an extra corner or another receiver for Penix. We just didn't do that. Like Darnell Mooney hasn't been producing, and our top three receivers right now, two of them aren't even wide receivers. So I just think we really could have used some extra receiver help, um, and also a corner because we don't really have a bona fide second corner outside of or like we don't have another corner to like line up every play against AJ Terrell. And like this season, that player has been Mike Hughes, but that's not gonna Mike Hughes isn't gonna win you championships. Um, no offense to Mike Hughes, but
I want that
it's
put
just
on
a
a
fact.
t-shirt. Mike Hughes is not gonna
Yeah.
win you championships. And then just send it to him. Just see how he feels about it.
Yeah. There it goes.
Yeah, so that's the deadline. This is the best deadline we've had in a long time. I really think there were some very interesting moves. I'm really interested to see like what move because like it's not like the MLB or the NBA where like the deadlines are usually super active. And a lot of the times in the MLB, especially, you can point to a play or I mean a team that wins a World Series and say, oh, well, they added this player at the deadline and that player hit this player that they added at the deadline for nothing hit like 370 in the World Series. You know, it's not like that. It's a much more kind of team sport and it's much more kind of hey like we'll just see what happens. I really am interested to see which of these if any of these additions are like at the end of the year, like if somehow the Colts win the World Series, are we like man the Sauce Gardner trade, they thank God they made that trade because Sauce Gardner shut down Puka Nakua in the Super Bowl or something like is that what we're going to be talking about, or are these moves just going to be kind of like oh wow that was crazy. All right, well, the Chiefs won the Super Bowl again. Like I wonder if that is what we will see, and I'm curious to see like if this deadline, if a team wins like that, will this influence other deadlines for years to come where teams are more willing to buy in and be aggressive. So very fun deadline, very interesting uh, events that happened today, and I'm sure we'll talk about it more as we talk about next week and we see some of these players make their debuts for their teams. But Aaron, I believe I need you to tell me the single one thing that happened in history, the most important thing that happened in history today, November 4th. What happened?
There's two very very important things that
You
happened
have
today
to pick
in
the most
history.
important one. You cannot say the other one.
Um,
The people will not
but
know.
I think the most important one is Obama was elected as president today in
In
2008.
Oh wow, okay, so first election. Wow. All right.
Yeah.
Big, big first black president. Very big. Uh that's all
Yep.
I have to say about that. I want to thank
Was
you guys for
anyone born
watching.
today?
What?
Was anyone born today?
Oh my goodness. One second. You want me to tell you the single most important person?
Yeah.
Give me 1 second here. I'm really thinking hard. Ralph Macchio.
Sure it's not Walter Cronkite or Laura
It's
Bush or anybody like that.
it's probably Ralph Macchio,
Okay.
yeah. Oh, P Diddy was born.
Oh.
P Diddy was born today. So, happy
Yeah.
birthday. Yep, that's gonna be it. I hope you guys enjoyed.
Right.
Give your thoughts in the comments below on all the trades. Crazy day. We will talk about it more next week when we do our weekly recap. And we hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you guys for watching. See you guys in the next video. Peace out.